why is it that music is such a good way to communicate?
Music touches people in the soul, and it's been proven. We've seen it happen. There's political speeches where people try to, preach at you, and but music has a way of getting into the soul.
So before I introduce you to my very special guest, I wanted to share a story. I'm a musician by hobby, and in 2005, I picked up a bass guitar. For a hearing impaired individual like me, bass guitar is the easiest instrument to listen to and to identify in terms of chords or covering songs. And so in 2005, in June 2005, exactly 15 years ago, I picked up my first ever bass, and the song that inspired me to pick up the bass was Actrice Yoni by Junon, and that always stuck with me. So in 2018, when Junon reunited, I had this opportunity to meet Brand, and we really connected. And over the next few months, whenever we met, there was a guitar or something there, and I would sort of pick up the guitar or I would see Brian performing, and he encouraged me to sort of come back to music. And he really inspired me. And since then, I've been playing music more and more and more regularly. And in this pandemic, playing bass especially has really kept me sane. And now I've actually learned how to play Sayoni finally after 15 years. So, Brian, thank you so much for joining me here. It's a very special moment for me.
Mobeen, the pleasure is all mine. I love you, and I love you and respect you as not only a soulmate, but the most talented and artistic and insightful photographer I've ever met. Inspire me. You mentioned how I inspired you to play bass. Well, you inspire me to get back into my photography.
Thank you so much, Brian, for the very kind words, for always being supportive. So, Brian, given the circumstances, what's the one thing that keeps you grounded these days?
It's a very good question. And my simple answer to that is my connection with God. I have to work very hard in these times, even harder than I usually do, to maintain, to connect and develop that relationship, because as I told you before, God's got this. And in times of trouble, and we can certainly call our situation troubling, I think human nature, or at least Brian's nature, the knee-jerk reaction to trouble or panic or anything else is to think about it. Okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to do? I. It always comes back to my selfish, self-centered brain. So I have to work hard and remind myself, okay, look, God's got this. He knows what he's doing. And even if it doesn't look like it's a peaceful thing, God is in everything. And I have to trust God in everything I do.
So Brian, many of us are very curious, when you were a young man in the States. I mean, you still are a young man for sure.
Oh,
so did it ever cross your mind that that you will ever become one of the most prominent musicians in Pakistan and ultimately in the world?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I was just going over my best friend Salman. After we graduated from high school, he went back to Pakistan, and we would keep in touch. He would stay at my family's house in the summer, even when I was away at college. And he came back this one time with Janoon's first album, and he played it for me.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. First thing I asked him, I said, who's playing guitar? And he says, I am. And I'm like, what? What happened? He became so good. He wrote these wonderful songs, and he created this rock album in a place that had never really heard that kind of stuff before. I was absolutely mind blown by that. And
I can imagine.
I knew about Pakistan from what he told me, the pictures he showed me, the stories he told me. And a short time later, he asked, hey, Brian, would you like to come over for a little while to check it out? And without even thinking about it, I said, yeah. And then I came over there. I was going to stay for maybe a couple of weeks, a month. And then he
Yeah.
asked me if I'd like to be involved in making the next album, Talash. And I said, yeah, let's do this. So that was my
Nice.
plan. And then I looked around and I'm like, wow, this place is wonderful. And one thing led to another. And then I had the food over there and that changed everything. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. So I didn't see
Uh,
any future in this. I just took it a day at a time, and then it became an album at a time, and then a show at a time. And then I started a family there. One thing led to another. God's plan was unfolding, and I was just kind of floating around in it. And no, I had no idea what was going to become of Junoon and the power of music in Pakistan and the role we had to play, both musically, artistically, politically, socially. I had no idea. No idea at all. And I'm glad I
wow.
had no idea.
Wow. That's such an amazing story for a lot of people who really follow your work. Um, one thing I've always been curious about. I mean, pardon a bit of a technical question, and because I'm not a musician, so maybe I'm not articulating this correctly. But what was the biggest challenge in bringing this fusion of local and rock music together at the basis, the tonality of it?
Well, that's a very good word to use. The tonality and the harmonic structure and the rhythm. When we look at it, music, those are the three things I'm looking at. And
Uh,
um, when I came to Pakistan, I realized that the rhythm of the music was far more interesting than what I had been exposed to over here in the West. I found it fascinating, and the use of tabla and dolak, and just that whole beat, um, just really, really excited me. So I was attracted to the rhythm, and then melodically, it was much more intricate at the same time as being much more free form than what I had been exposed to studying music over here in New York. So that excited me as well. And then when I saw how people really love their music, which I see in all cultures, um, I felt a part of it, the community of the music and whatnot. So it was very exciting for me.
I remember when we met at Ali's apartment in Karachi. I believe it was one day before the concert on 25th December 2019. And I think a relative of Ali's was over. And then, he asked you a question, he was asking you all sorts of questions. And he asked you, how long, have you lived in Karachi? So I remember I was sitting next to you, and you looked out into the window, you looked out at the skyline, and you quiet for probably 5 seconds, and then you said, you paused, and then you said, yeah, 15 years. And I mean, there was so much profoundness in your voice. There was so much I mean, sense of a lot of memories there. Do you miss the city experience of Karachi, and how was the experience of teaching music there? I believe you taught music there as well.
I did. I did toward the end.
Yeah.
Mobeen, after all of that time, um, I grew into Pakistan, and Pakistan became a part of me. As you know, I started a family over there. Both of my daughters were born in Karachi. So here was this foreigner who just kind of plugged himself in. And, I just fell in love with Pakistan, the culture, the people, the love I experienced over there. And it was just very, very wonderful. So it was a little, it was difficult to leave, but it was time. And, because living in Pakistan as a foreigner, etc., and then dealing with what we all have to deal with over there, I had to look ahead to the future for my daughters as well. And I wanted to give them the opportunity to make a choice on where to further their studies and where to settle in. Plus, all of my blood relatives are here. I was the only one that ventured to Pakistan. With all that being said, it was a difficult choice to leave, but I had to. At that time, I had to. So when a question like that was asked, how long have I been here, etc., it made me in that instant look back at my experience rather than a number, but as a series of life events. And Pakistan is very, very close to my heart. Although I am very, very much at home here in my hometown of New York. I love it. I get the opportunity to visit Pakistan, and it'll never leave my heart, ever.
What bass composition, in your opinion, over the course of your career, has been your proudest achievement, and why?
I enjoy playing the bass line for Mukgene a lot. Myself and my brother John put together a little video clip extending our sympathies and our solidarity with the recent events of the PIA crash in this pandemic, etc. I love the feeling of that song. Lyrically, it's in Punjabi or whatnot, but I just identify with that. And what I like about that is that it inspired me both rhythmically and melodically too, because my job as the bass player is to try to connect the harmonic dots and also either sync in with the rhythm of the tabla and dholak or create a rhythm of my own. And in my opinion, that bass line kind of does both. And it's very, very simple. And I think that's important to say too. So when we think of something that we're proud of playing, quite often we think of, okay, well, the technical, is it advanced technically? Is it doing this? And I have to put that all aside. Does it work for the song? And that's what I have to consider. And quite often what works best for the song is something very, very simple and understated, which may not show my talent technically, which is a good thing because I don't think I have much. But if there's one thing I do well is I try to play for the song and try to fit in with all of the other elements, because it all has to work together. If we're all out there concentrating on what we have to do more technically or whatnot, we may miss the boat with that. So I think that one works for the song. And another one that comes to mind right now is Allahu, which is the same repeating eighth notes from start to finish. It's as simple as it gets, but it's as aerobic as it gets. Like when we run, we're only doing two things. We're putting our left foot forward, we're putting our right foot forward, and then we do that again. And the challenge becomes in the endurance of that. So take a concert like Central Park, where we're playing Allahu for like 8 minutes. I'm doing this over and over again. And the only thing on my mind is like, wow, I hope I don't cramp up. I hope I can get through this song. Because the bass line is as simple as anything, but it just never stops. So that's always a challenge for me too. So I like that one. Those are the only two ones that come to mind. Oh, also, there is a third one that comes to mind, Sajana. That's a real bouncy kind of bouncy beat, which is a lot of fun. And I always get propelled by the rhythm. I always imagine Ashik behind me banging on the dholaks and pushing me. And I'm just kind of bouncing with it. What a great job I have.
Well, this is really, really, really fascinating, especially for music aficionados like me and my brothers. Will surely, I hope they'll thank me for getting this sound bite out of you, because they're really curious about your whole thought process and everything. Speaking of memories, what was your favorite Junoon concert to date?
Well, that one that our reunion concert on Christmas in 2018 was very memorable, and for a number of reasons. I was very ill during that concert, and I didn't know if I would be able to physically get through it. because I had been living in America for a while and my stomach got used to American stuff. And I came over and I had some of the water over there, and my stomach wasn't as strong as it was as when I was living there. I got deathly ill. So I was worried about how physically I was going to make it through.
Yeah.
That was a challenge. But Mobeen, what was an absolutely beautiful thing for me to witness is that when we came out on stage, there were a number of things. We just clicked as a unit. I didn't think it was going
Yeah.
to be that good as far as technically playing together. But the great thing is what's always most rewarding for me is seeing the love and the reaction of the people out there who've come to see us.
Yeah.
They've come to see us, they've come to hear us. And now in 2018, it was them and their children. And their children are singing the songs, and the children have the same smiles on their face that mom and dad have. And the love and the
Yeah.
joy that was out there coming up at me and us on stage was overwhelming. And I'm like, wow, thank you, God. You know, who's got it better than me? All I have to
Yeah.
do is just play these simple notes over and over again and be a part of something much bigger. And just having the honor of being a part of that and carrying a good message, both lyrically and musically, to the masses, seeing how it's accepted, enjoyed, and then having that love and appreciation thrown back up in you with the dancing, with the smiling, with the cheering. What a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really, I think, a historical event to witness, especially for me as well. One more question that I had for you was, in attempting to cover your song, in attempting to emulate your playing style, just for my learning experience. So it kind of feels like a whole journey on the fret because you try every possible technique, like in Sayoni, if I'm not wrong, you have used tapping, you used sliding, you have, attempted almost everything. So it's like almost every fret in itself. As my brother would say, that you play it like in a flamenco style. So, I mean, how do you find inspiration to create such groove? And are there any musicians who you are inspired by?
Well, I get inspiration from so many areas. There's so much talent out there, but I have to be very careful because inspiration can also lead to, oh well, I'm not as good as them and this and that, and then the ego comes in. Oh, I'm not good, not as good as, got to be better, got to be better, got to be better. When I can leave that all aside, it's much more freeing, and these things just happen. So if there's any technical stuff that's going on, I'm really not aware of it. It's just what comes out. But having said that, anything that's going to come out is a result of what's gone in over the years. So in my bass playing, I certainly don't consider myself to be technically talented at all. At all. But as I mentioned before, you play for it's got to serve a purpose. It's got to work in the song.
So, Brian, do you have any message for budding musicians, upcoming musicians, especially also the ones who have been struggling in times like this?
Yes, of course I do. While we have the obvious challenges of what's going on in our world, we are blessed with what you're experiencing right now in this moment. We are blessed with technology, and more specifically, we're blessed with the internet and the technology that allows us to share our ideas like this. If you look on the internet, people are coming together virtually and exchanging ideas, and they are connecting the dots electronically. We have the internet, we have Zoom, we have Google Meet, we have all of this stuff available to us to stay in our lonely little porches and put our own thing out there, yet connect with each other right here on the screen. Yeah, to encourage musicians and artists out there, don't get distracted. Be aware of what's going on around, and stay safe, number one, and stay positive. Don't get distracted by what's out there. have the technology work for you. Press the record button if you have an idea. Record yourself. Share it by sending the file to someone else. Collaborate your art through what we have available to us. The internet, the technology, we have it. It's God-given. And we'll make it work. And let's remain hopeful and faithful that this is just a time in our lives that's an opportunity for us to make the best of what we have. And we'll get through this together.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brian, I have learned so much from the podcast, and to really know the technical process has been very fascinating. And I mean, continents apart, you all the way from New York. It's such a wonderful connection,
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, my brother. I feel like you're sitting right over there in the chair. I miss you.
Yes.
And I send my love to you. God
Yes, thank
bless you,
you.
Mobeen.
And to
All right,
you, Brian.
wonderful.
And to you, Brian. Thank you for being on my show.